I'm going to transition now to our CRDC session, the Civil Rights Data Collection. We've got Candy Johnson, and is Tanya with us today too? We've got that are going to go through the Civil Rights Data Collection. So Candy, I'm turning it to you.
Right. Everyone hear me?
Yes, sounds good.
Well, we're going to talk about some civil rights data, which I'm sure many of you, if you are working on this, have heard from me, probably more than you want to. So, as you know, this is the 2021 civil rights data, and we have some due dates coming up. First, I just want to let you know that we have a KDE website that has all this information on it. Even the federal site information is on our KDE website. But remember, the LEAs, your local education agencies, are responsible for their own data. Yes, we have pre-populated the data for everyone, and we are finished populating. And now is the time when you have to go in and start entering the data that we do not have. And here's some links in this that you'll be able to get to. We have the matrix out there that is on our webpage that tells you exactly what we cannot populate for you, that you will need to do yourself. But please remember that you need to validate all the data, even the data that we submitted, just to make sure it's in the way you want it in. And this data needs to be certified by February 28th. So this gives you a little more time. If you have questions, you can call me, message me, however you would like. So we also have some new state published ad hocs that we put out. If you go to the state published, you will see anything that starts with CRDC. Our most recent one that I wanted to mention is we put a distance learning. There's a distance learning ad hoc that is out there. And I've been getting a lot of questions on that one. So let me know if you find anything wrong or if you have questions about that. If you do not see these state published ad hocs, you need to talk to your administrator and have them give you access so that you can run these reports. And yes, in spring, you will get a lot of comments probably from the CRDC, and then they'll have data quality questions that they'll ask you. A lot of the data, as you're entering it, there's a comment section, and if you comment a lot of it, it may save you some time on some of their questions. But again, they'll probably notify you of any questions, and if there is an issue that they find, you can always, they'll give you time to recertify.
And they're looking at it, comparing it to previous year. So, yes. So if you've had a change in your grades offered at your school, things like that, those are things where you might want to put a comment in so that they definitely can see that, and it's not going to be a surprise. You know, they're not going to be going back and forth with you trying to resolve it in the spring when you've moved on to the next year.
Correct. And yes, we will be having the 21-22 CRDC 2 years in a row. They gave us off the 19-20 due to COVID. So they're trying to make us get back in the line of the every other year. So this is why they're doing the 2 years in a row. And just to let you know, I put on here that there are 2 years of data they want you to continue to keep for your records. And so once we get this year's done and next year's done, you'll just have the 2 in a row. So you can remove the ones that's showing right now. But right now you should have 15, 16, and 17, 18 data. And please note, if you go ahead and you can go out and you can already see what they're questioning about what they're wanting you to collect and anything that is different, so that you'll already be collecting this data. Since we're back to back, I mean, we're already in the 21-22 school year, so you may want to stay on top of some of your data, and that way you'll have more data quality, plus you'll also get yours certified sooner.
And if you're wondering what happened to phase 1, we're done with phase 1, and that'll be opening back up next fall for this for the next collection. But that's really about certifying the schools in your district, who the points of contact are. That's already been done. If you're a point of contact, hopefully you know that. Although I won't be completely surprised, because every time we have CRDC open, it seems like the last week it's open, I get somebody that calls me and says, I just got assigned this responsibility. What do I do? So yes. It's not surprising if you don't know, but you should know by now. If you don't know who is your CRDC contact, it might be a good question to ask.
Yes, and it was a challenge this year because it had been 3 years since we'd done CRDC, so there were a lot of turnover.
So superintendents should know who was designated as a CRDC point of contact. You want to know who that person is because you want to give them rights to all these ad hocs. You know, we want them to be able to use the tools that have been created for them to use to validate their data. You know, even though Candy mentioned this, even though we're populating all that data, we already had one issue that a district pointed out to us that was an issue, and we had to repopulate the the ACT data. You know, and we can, there's some select things that we can do, but the further we get down through the cycle, we can't push out, because if all those districts that have already updated their data or might have changed something, it could potentially change their data back, and we don't want to do that. Our effort has to be really at the beginning. So the sooner somebody can tell us, oh, you know, what is this? And we can look into it. We felt like it was pretty safe to go ahead and resolve that one issue, but typically after we initially do the first load, we don't do anything. But knowing that we're going to have a second year, you know, in a row, what we would love to have is your feedback.
Yes.
What is helpful? What would be helpful that we've not done for you? We're one of just, you know, probably 10 states that do this, and I'm really not sure of any state that populates as much data as we do. And the reason we can do that is we have a statewide student information system. And without that, there would be no reason for us, because we would have to be collecting all the data separately, and then you might as well put it directly to CRDC. But because we have the statewide student information system, we're able to pull the data, but we still are very reliant on the districts, first of all, to have good data for us to pull, which goes back to the previous session on data quality and all the, you know, QA tools and other tools that are out there in campus. But second of all, it's up to you all to really look at the data and make sure at the state level we've pulled it correctly. What we're doing is we're pulling the data based on data standards. And there's a possibility, if you're not following the data standards in your district, the way you're entering data in an Infinite Campus, the way we pull it might not work for your district. We're pulling it the way, you know, we expect people to enter it. So that's why it's so important for you to look at the data to make sure the way we pulled it works for your district. What we don't want to do is underreport or overreport something just because, you know, the data's in this Infinite Campus a little bit differently. It might not be wrong. It might just be different enough that the way we did the extract doesn't work for your district. So it's really important for you all to be looking at that data locally to make sure it's right before you do that final certification.
And if I get a lot of comments back in one area, for example, we could pull it different for the next year if we were doing something wrong. So everyone doesn't have to go in and keep changing data. Just let us know ahead of time and we can check to see how we were pulling it to make sure it was correct, or if it was just a difference in a way one district did it versus all the districts.
Right. So we do have a question. If someone else takes over CRDC, who needs to be contacted to get them started on this lovely task?
First, your superintendent, because them and their appointed contact, they actually have an alternate who can add you as a CRDC contact, and then you can get rights.
Right.
And out on there's a document. Uh-oh.
I think your audio is kind of messing up there. But there is if you go to KDE's website, there's a CRDC website, yes. Actually search on CRDC, you'll see some links there. And really the superintendent is always going to be the main point of contact, but he can designate another point of contact, because we don't really expect the superintendents are going to do all this work, but he or she designates an alternative contact that does that, and they can make those changes in the CRDC system. And Candy, if you don't know why I just repeated everything you said, I heard about every other word, but I know what you were trying to say.
Oh, thank you.
So well, there is a document. Might have heard it. It might have been on my end.
There is a document also on our site that tells them how, step for step, how to add a person. So if you need to be added, the directions are on our webpage. Okay.
And Candy's already responding to lots of calls. Tanya is new to this year, and she's been able to upload a lot of these files for us, and she's learning a lot as we go. So go ahead with the rest of it. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Jump in anytime. Here is our CRDC contacts. These are also located on our KDE webpage too, but just a heads up, there is the Federal Register and the regulations going on right now. There are comment periods going on. If you have questions or you don't like some of the things that are going on with CRDC, this is your time that you can go out there and they take in consideration. It's a public comment time, so take your chances.
And most of the time when we have an opportunity to public comments is looking at adding additional things to the collection. Every now and then they remove stuff, but it's not often. Some of the stuff they removed because of the last administration, actually they're putting it back. What they're proposing is putting it back. So really they are very dependent. They say they read every single comment they receive. And if there's undue burden or the data isn't worth the amount of effort it's going to take to get it, it's okay to say that kind of stuff. Of course, we all want to say it respectfully, but if we're not collecting in Infant Campus and they want us to collect it, sometimes they'll come out and they'll say, well, we want to start collecting this for the 21-22 school year. Well, if the data's not in Infinite Campus, I'm not sure how you're supposed to collect it unless, everybody's going to their Excel spreadsheets to collect some of this data. And no one wants to do that. So, pushing back and just saying we need reasonable amount of time to get the collection in our student information system is a good response.
Right. And they also, they may consider that and make it optional for this next year and then make it required the next. But right. There's so much data that we don't have that they're going to ask for that you will be responsible for entering yourself. So we don't want that. And here is a link also to the KDE webpage and the matrix that tells you what you have to enter that we can't enter for you. And I'm sure all of you have my information, but there it is. And you can call me, email me, and Tanya's also helping and responded to some stuff for me too. So either one of us, just give us a call.
Appreciate it. This is a big task. Other states look at us and say, why would you want to do it? And it really goes back to the fact that we can do something one time, and it takes a lot of effort. It's not easy at the state level to do this, but we can do it one time and benefit all of you versus each of you having to take and enter all that data yourself individually. So we always get good response back. I don't know that we could ever at this point quit doing it. It's almost what kind of expected. So we're glad to be able to do that kind of work. So
and I'm all for anybody calling me, emailing me. I love trying to help everyone, and I have really talked to a lot of great people so far.